Hello everybody, this is the Average Investor here again, and I'd like to discuss why I bought Nintendo stock. What I'm going to discuss in this presentation is the fundamentals of how the 10-year history of Nintendo stock, the 5-year history of Nintendo stock, including the Wii U years, and the last 2 years of Nintendo stock from January 2015 to today of November 25th, 2016. And Nintendo's future and my own personal financial history with Nintendo stock. So, fundamentals. So the reason I bought Nintendo actually in the very beginning around 2012 was because Nintendo has excellent fundamentals, meaning it's a very it's a very well managed company. It's an extremely old company. It was created back in 1889. And I actually look for companies that are very old, that have very stable companies to invest in. It has tons of intellectual property and is enormous. Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Samus. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's too many. I can't even think about how many there are. Nintendo is literally the Disney of the video game realm. And Nintendo themselves are very conservative in their business practices. They don't throw money around. They rarely, if ever, sell at a loss. And that's why one of the reasons of why they're such a good company. They don't waste their money. Nintendo, and when I was looking for a good company, I saw that Nintendo always has more assets than debts. So this is just a very rudimentary table. And here you see back in 2012 when I purchased Nintendo, they had assets totaling in about approximately 1.7 trillion yen as opposed to their debts of only 177 billion. So 1.37 trillion is essentially 1,370 billion yen in assets back in 2012, and they only had 177 billion in debts. So even if they screwed up, which they sort of did with Nintendo Wii U, they could still weather that storm. And if you look through the years, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, they have always maintained, and if you actually look at the trend, they decrease their debts and their assets about the same, but they've been decreasing their debts. So Nintendo really knows how to control costs, and their net income has been not that great, and their earnings per share has not that been good. But I think this is a company that has very good potential, and they've proven in the past, and I believe they would prove it in the future, and this is why I bought them initially. So I want to describe here the 10-year history of Nintendo stock. This is sort of a grand overview. So back in the beginning, 2006 here, the earliest that this chart shows is when the Wii U was released. You'll see a humongous jump in its stock price from like 20 some odd, maybe about 25, 30 some odd bucks to around almost $75 at the very high peak here. And then you'll see it again about July 1st, 2008, they had sold 10.9 million Wiis. And they became the market leader, beat out the Xbox and PlayStation. And but then you can see the stock price began to peter out. 50 million Wiis had been shipped back in March 25th, 2009. The 3DS portable was released in February 25th, 2011, and then the Wii U was released in November 18th, 2012. And if you notice right here at the very beginning, this is actually this right here is basically the volume of stock that's being traded. You'll notice it was moving around here, not too much. But what I want to alert you a little bit later on, I'll discuss here, just recently 2016, the tremendous amounts of volume of stock that was traded back in 2006, just now, recently. But more than that later. So this is the 5-year history of Nintendo stock, and this is basically showing you the Wii U years and the dates that I approximately purchased Nintendo stock. So back in 2012, around June or so, that's the first date, I began purchasing Nintendo stock, thinking, oh, and I'd read all about the Wii U, and I had this thing that, oh, the Wii U will be just like the Wii. It's gonna skyrocket. I'm gonna make tons and tons of money. I just gotta catch this great wave. Well, as you see, um, I didn't catch no wave. It was like I did not make anything. Meaning, I didn't sell it, but I basically made not that much money during that time point. So, uh, when it was released, the price of the stock actually fell. And then the Mario Kart 8 was released in May 29th. That's actually about the time when I bought a Nintendo, actually, Wii U. And then it didn't really do too much. The first Amiibos came out July 10th, 2014. Again, not too much action, but it's the next 2 years that actually there was a change. So from 2012 to about beginning of 2015, I was at a negative. I was losing money, meaning I had not sold anything, but I was showing an unrealized loss. Um, so Nintendo from January 2015 to now is what I want to discuss here. So you'll see the huge spikes that now begin to happen on Nintendo. This is when they finally break through, and it's basically because of mobile games. So back around here, around March or so of 2015, Nintendo announces that it's going to make mobile games. Because of that, there's a huge spike in that's the first big spike in their stock price. It just jumps. People are anticipating, oh, not finally, Nintendo's finally making mobile games. And Nintendo, it does well somewhat, meaning the stock price is okay and begins to peter out down again. People are just losing interest and that's not caring anymore. Then July 7th, 2016 happens. And that's when Pokemon Go is released. And then people go crazy. The stock price jumped from around 18, maybe 17 some odd bucks to approximately $38 a share. Actually, well, shares which was about 33. Anyway, people went crazy. And you can see why people are going crazy. If you look down right here, you'll see that the volume of shares, they're tremendous. There's 45 million shares a week trading hands back when Pokemon Go was released. So people were going crazy. Then, just like everything else, when there's a huge spike, stock prices, people sort of get bored and stock prices drop. And plus, Nintendo wasn't showing any money. And so then about no September or so, the iPhone 7 has been released. And when the iPhone 7 is released, Shigeru Miyamoto comes on stage and announces the Super Mario Run will be on the iPhone. This is the first time a real mobile game from Nintendo. Pokemon Go is not by Nintendo. They're from another company, Niantic or whatever. But this is the Super Mario Run is the first game from Nintendo. And again, Nintendo stock spikes again like crazy. And then, of course, it begins to peter out. The Nintendo Switch is announced in the end of October about, and it's begun to peter out. So you can see basically previously Nintendo's was not making too much money, and it only was mobile games, the announcement mobile games that have really motivated people to buy Nintendo stock or have it jump. So I was just going to discuss now the future. So we have the Switch coming out in March 2017. Nintendo will be making about 4 or so mobile games by around March 2017. Super Mario Run will be coming out December 15th. That's about 15 or so days from today. Miitomo has already been out. No one really buys that, I guess, or does anything. Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing will be coming out. And of course, Nintendo's partnering with with mobile games such as Pokemon Go, and that's whatever it is. There's been talk with Nintendo about producing movies and media about 5 years from now. And of course, Nintendo partners with other companies. I've actually read this article that people from Xbox or what have you want to have Nintendo IP or like Mario, what have you, on Xbox. I highly doubt that's gonna ever happen. And of course, Nintendo's been thinking about virtual reality. Who knows what's gonna happen there? So that's basically a short history of Nintendo, and I just want to discuss and what my financial history with Nintendo stock has been. So I have almost about 100 some odd shares, and uh, so my big purchases happened in 2012, like about June, July, August, and about October. And I purchased a stock price of about 14 some odd dollars, 18 some odd dollars. And since that time, I've made about 100% gain on 100% or more than 100% gain on those various stock prices back in 2012 when I thought, oh, the Wii U is going to make huge money. And it wasn't Wii U, and I had to wait a long time. It went, what, 4 some odd years before I saw these gains. And then just recently, I've purchased another 32 shares of Nintendo at about 35, 30.5, $30.51, and I've only seen like $15 gain thus far. So I'm still anticipating Nintendo's a great stock. I think this is something, if you're really looking into a company that I think is still a growth company, this is something that I think you should look into. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much. Bye bye.